Guys, welcome to the ultimate guide for the controller player. I've been sending a controller to a friend of mine who used to play on M and Key, and he said, I want to try, understand how is it on controller, how do I get like better aim assist, etc, etc. And I jumped on a couple of games with him, and I understood some certain questions that he had only once I was really like playing with him and tried to explain to him how to utilize a controller. But before we get into the details, let's do really like a step-by-step what you need to do from the very beginning, from your controller till the very end. But before we start with today's video, let's give this controller away. I want to say thank you very much for 1000 subscribers, and I have here Battle Beaver PS4 controller, perfectly fine working, digital triggers, digital bumpers. You have two back paddles, one for sliding, one for jumping. The right stick has an increased like tension, so you can even aim more precisely than you used to with the ordinary controllers. And he's perfectly fine working, never opened. You get even the original Battle Beaver cable. The only thing that you won't get original is like the original case, because I don't have it anymore. But hey, that's life. Just to show you that the controller is also perfectly working, here are the Deadzones for it. So we have on left 7, on right we have 3. If you clean a little bit on the left side, he will get down for sure on 3 or 4. And as you can see, everything is working perfectly fine. This controller is great, feels great. This controller has also the vibrations removed, so it's super easy and super light in your hands. It feels just very, very correct to me. Unfortunately, my hands are too big for this kind of controller, as you can see, so I have to play on the PS5. Otherwise, I would stick with this one. How you can get this one? Just make sure that you drop a comment down below. Make it funny, give me like one of your COD experiences, and the comment that gets the most likes will get the controller. That being said, I will reach out then directly to you, either like via comment on the comment or some kind of Discord. We will figure it out and I will drop it then to you. Once we have the winner decided, and the winner will be decided by New Year's Eve, I will send this controller to the guy who won. As I said, I will reach out somehow either via Discord or via any other kind of communication possibilities that we have. So I will directly write under your comment if you want it. So that being said, make sure that you watch the video till the end, drop a like, share it with your friends, and I'm really looking forward to read those messages. For demonstration purposes, I'm using my SCUF Reflex FPS, which is a standard PS5 controller, just by SCUF with some back pedals and digital triggers and bumpers. If you have a standard controller, this is perfectly fine. You should follow the same steps at the end of the day. I'm not using any kind of additional tools like DS4 or whatsoever for this particular tutorial that I'm showing to you, because it's a little bit more advanced if you want to go with DS4 or you want to have some custom curves set up in front. So what I strongly recommend is that you guys just try to follow the whole process that we have right now here, because what I want to try to explain to you is, first of all, is how you set up your controller, second of all, how you can improve your aim, and how you find the best settings for you. So this is like the main point of today's video, so please bear with me. I know it will be a little bit longer than usually, but I really want to make sure that you guys have the best understanding when it comes to the controller, because I see a lot of people doing the same mistakes in the very beginning and saying, okay, controller is not worth playing. But we all understand that the controller with the aim assist and the rotational aim assist that you have is just outplaying any kind of aim and key at the moment. That being said, let's jump into the first settings that we have to do, and this is of course setting up your controller in the game. So once you're in the game, I'm here in Black Ops 6 multiplayer. You can do this as well in Warzone, so this is not really, it doesn't matter that much. You go into your settings, you jump into controller, you make sure that your input device is set to controller. This should be by default if you have a controller. If not, set it. Then you want to set up your stick sensitivity. So this is like the first two things that you want to do. Call of Duty changed the sensitivity, or better said, how the sensitivity is being displayed on your device and how it's being recognized in game, like I think like 1 month ago. So what I would recommend for you guys, if you're really like starting to play the first time on a controller, you should set your stick sensitivity to be like at 6 or 7. This would be nowadays 1.8 or 1.6. So you would like to be somewhere between 1.6 and 1.8 here on this scale. I personally will stay on 2 because I'm already more used to that than playing on 1.6 or 1.7. This is because I'm just an old dude, and and my fingers are not that fast anymore as they used to be, so that's why I'm playing rather with a higher sensitivity. But the flip side with higher sensitivity is once you start shooting and you try to control the recoil, you will get in some issues. And mainly because if you try to control the recoil and you apply too much, let's say recoil control on one side or the other side, you might flip out and it goes all the way. So be very careful. For the beginning, as I said, you should set your stick sensitivity to 1.6 or 1.7. This would be giving you like equivalent of 6 or 7, what we used to know in the past. In case you're wondering where you can find this old chart, you can check it out on Dexter. I put the link down below. They have the old values and the new values, so you can see exactly how it's happening. When it comes to your controls, or better said to the stick layout, if you are not already used to any kind of FPS gaming on the controller, just stay with the default. I play default as well, but if you like to have a different setup, you can whatever choose. This is all up to you. Once again, we're not using any kind of additional software for emulation or whatsoever. I'm covering this in all the other videos as well. Then we go to the rest. You want to deactivate all this stuff. You don't want any kind of simplified controls, bumper ping. You don't want this controller vibration. I really recommend that you remove this. You don't want any kind of trigger effects or whatsoever. So forget all of this like shenanigans unless you want to play the story and you would like to feel it. But for the multiplayer or Warzone, it's not recommended at all. The next thing that you would like to then fix is of course your dead zones. In Call of Duty implemented for you even a dead zone tester, so you don't need to test it on an additional website like Gamepad Tester or whatsoever. You can directly go here inside the menu and then you activate the test stick dead zones. As you can see, my stick drift on my controller is very limited. Nevertheless, I would strongly recommend that if you're completely new to controller, that you remove all of your stick drift. What is stick drift? Stick drift is basically once the stick is like back into the center, it's still drifting in terms of it's still providing input and your game is recognizing it and therefore doing some kind of actions like going to the left, going to the right, or aiming up, down, left, down, whatever your stick drift is doing. In order to remove or reduce this, you can use the in-game pre-built like dead zones. So you want to have your left stick somewhere around 3 or 5, depending on how much stick drift you have. As you can see on my left stick, when I put it to 3, I have no stick drift at all. Might even can go to 2. No, can't, because you can see that I still have here stick drift, so I need to go here on 3. You generally want to have the dead zones as slow as possible because this is helping you to have better input recognition. Remember this all the time. So on my right stick, let's have a look. So I have some stick drift here. You can see it's -1. I put it here as well on 3 to make sure. Yeah, so you can see here I have 0% stick drift now on left and on the right stick. The next thing that you would like to adjust is like the maximum output. So what is the maximum output in other words? As you know, every controller starts in the middle and you can go to the left and to the right. And this means like when you go fully to the right, it means like that you utilize the whole range of the potentiometer, which is down below inside here, which is basically what you're working with. What you want on your left stick is to reduce your left stick max because you don't need to pull your stick all the way to the limit in order to achieve the full, let's say, running speed or whatsoever. So I strongly recommend that you put it down to 35, which used to be a very good and very solid decision for me. In case you're feeling uncomfortable with it, you can always increase it or decrease it, but 35 is working pretty fine. It used to be 45, but now with 35, I'm perfectly fine. When it comes to the right stick max, this is all up to you. So generally, you would like to use your right stick to the maximum level possible because this is the stick that you're using for aiming. As you remember, the left stick is for movement, the right stick is for aiming. And I strongly recommend that you keep the maximum available. Just put it down to 99 so that you don't need to go all the way to 100. It's sometimes there is an issue with the recognition of the potentiometer, so keep it like this. That being said, you can also adjust the dead zones for your left and right triggers. In this case, in my controller, I'm perfectly fine with 3 and 1. If it's a little bit different for you, you can always adjust it. Remember, if you start to ADS by yourself, or if your controller starts to shoot by yourself, you should increase the dead zones on your left, or respectively on your right triggers. Now that we covered your controller recognition, like from a technical perspective, without any kind of additional tools like DS4 or SCUF Envision, ICUE controller, whatever it's called, let's jump into the aiming. And what I strongly recommend for the aiming perspective for you guys is that you always play with aim assist, unless you're doing a practice, and I will explain later on why. The sensitivity multiplier, please leave it on default on 11111. This is not really interesting for you. The look inversion, you'll keep on standard, you will not change this. When it comes then to the advanced aiming settings, please bear with me, okay? There's a couple of things that you would need to have. First of all, you want to have your transition timing set to instant, and you want to set your response curve to dynamic. I understand a lot of people are saying linear is the way to go. I still feel perfectly fine with dynamic. And if you ask yourself what the different values mean, let me try to explain it to you very simple. If you have your controller and you go on your right side, on the left side, and you press it fully up to the right, and you have set linear, then all the inputs are recognized the same way. I try to illustrate it here in a visual. If you have it set up to dynamic, the first initial movement will be recognized with a higher input frequency, which means you will move faster on the short, but the dynamic curve on the long term will help you to reduce the speed till you get to the end. In other words, the way until you reach the 99 or like the limit of your potentiometer is becoming longer or differently, if you want to call it this way. And that's why I'm saying that dynamic is more helpful for you, because in the beginning you will have a much more snappier aim, or better said response. And on the, for example, on the long term, you know, when you go between the ranges of 50, 65, 70, 75, 99, the response takes longer until it's being recognized. So it gives you more precision, if you want to call it this way. Standard, I never played. Try it by yourself. Once again, I'm trying to put up here some visuals so you can visualize yourself how the input would be looking like. If you're new, completely leave the aim response curve slope scale. Do not play around with it. Once you get more comfortable with your response type, response curve that you have, then you can start playing around with this option as well. If you're new, I also strongly recommend that you set up a custom sensitivity per zoom, because if you're playing first time on controller, you will understand that having a high sensitivity like 66, 77 or even 99 or 1010 will lead to the fact that when you're trying to play on a sniper and you try to move left and right, that you will be moving so much faster than you're used with mouse, because you can't do those small adjustments. So I strongly recommend that you put your sensitivity when it comes like based on the zoom level that you have to the following. You set it to 1, which means on low zoom, which means it will be exactly the same sensitivity as you have set up in your controller by yourself. And then the higher you go, you would like to decrease it. In my case, I'm using 1 for low zoom, 0.909 until 5x, and everything above I use 0.85. So in other words, my sensitivity, what I have times 0.85 is then the aiming sensitivity that I have when I'm, for example, having 8 or 9x zoom. Again, I strongly recommend that you also play around with that one, but for the beginning, try to follow and use my settings that I have here. It will definitely help you out. All the other settings, please leave as you can see here, like targeted aim assist. You always want to have it on, otherwise you will lose it. The motion sensor behavior, please have deactivated. You will never use this unless you're feeling super comfortable with it. When it comes to the movement, I personally play with sprint assist on, which means I have to click on L3 or on my back pedal if I assigned it to, that I go into tech sprint. I would recommend that you do this if you feel comfortable by clicking another button before you get into tech sprint. If you're not feeling comfortable with that, you can put on tactical sprint assistant, which will automatically put you all the time into tech sprint. The reason why I'm using sprint assist is very simple. I would like to avoid the situation where I continuously jump into tech sprint and therefore have a longer ADS reaction time. Now you will ask yourself, why is that? Well, it gives you like this small opportunity, or better said advantage in short range gunfights, that you can faster pull up your gun into ADS than just going into tech sprint and then taking a long time until you ADS and then start shooting. So I strongly recommend that you try it. If you feel not comfortable with it, just simply go and put it to tech sprint assist. That being said, all the other options you would like to have active, of course. When it comes to the mental assist, I strongly recommend that you turn it off. It's happening to me so many times that I just want to, roll somewhere or just stand up or just jump up high, and then immediately the mentaling started. So I always recommend that you have it off, which means the mental is activated only in the contextual jump via jump button. Same counts for the crouch button. You would like to have this deactivated because it makes no sense for you to active, because you would like to have the most control over your movements in the game itself. The corner slice, keep it up and running. It's a nice visual effect, but it's not giving like any additional like picker advantage or whatsoever, because the other one is seeing you perfectly fine. When it comes to the slide dive behavior, I personally play with hybrid, which means I can utilize slide and I can use dive while pressing on my circle button or on my B button. The advantage is that I can dive or slide whenever I decided to. The disadvantage in this case is that you will sometimes have like dead slides or dead dives, depending on the input recognition of the system itself. We do have a very big problem in Call of Duty that a lot of movement mechanics are bind down to one single button, which is dive, prone, slide, and crouch. They're all mapped to the circle button, and this is really like messing already up the game. But it is what it is, so you better get used to it. There are other ways how you can utilize it better. I showed them already in other videos, please check them out. But for this video, we keep this one here on hybrid. I also recommend that you keep it on hybrid unless you like to slide only, then I strongly recommend that you go to slide only or dive only. Do not use the options with tap to slide or tap to dive. For me personally, it turned out always to be like a mistake, because I always forget, okay, do I have tap for slide or do I have tap for dive? When it comes to the automatic airball mantle, I also strongly recommend that you turn it off, because you would like to be in charge of what you're doing and not that the system is guessing for you what you would like to do. Sprint restore, you keep it on. Slide maintain sprint, you always want to have this on. Please do not deactivate this. You want your parachute behavior to be off, because you would like to be in charge again. You want that the mantle is canceling your reload, so in case you're running away and you're reloading and you need to mantle, yes, you want to cancel your reload and then jump on that. Don't do anything else. Let's jump now into the advanced movements. When it comes to the sprint tactical behavior, leave it on toggle unless you would like to hold it. I don't know anybody who is using to hold, so keep it on toggle, especially if you are new. Auto move forward, disable, auto pick door. I would also disable that unless you feel comfortable, then you can enable it. This is more gameplay style related settings rather than a mechanical. I personally would never like to pick the door if I'm ADSing, because sometimes I know that the guys on the other side and I just want to ADS immediately. I don't want to open the door then or pick it, better said. Grounded mantle, yes, you would like to keep this on. I know on the other ones I said no, but in this case, this one you want to have on. When it comes to the tactical sprint activation, you want it to be single tap run, which means while you're running, you just have to tap one time and you will immediately go into tech sprint. This setting will give you like the opportunity that you don't have to double tap. Plunging underwater, you want to keep on trigger. But again, this is more what you prefer, and you want to have the door pressure, of course, active. When it comes to the vehicle advanced settings, this is really how you like to do it. I don't care about that much, so I'm not really much driving, so you have to figure that out by yourself. And now let's jump into the combat section. And you would like to have your ADS always to be on hold. You never want to have it on toggle. Weapon mount activation, I personally have it on ADS and melee. You can change it to just being ADS or double tap ADS. For me personally, it worked out best ADS and melee. As you know, Black Ops 6 has the option that you can run all the time with the knife, and then you have your tech sprint all the time active while doing that. In my opinion, it's best if you have it set up for activation on hold melee. If you feel more comfortable, you can put it as well in the weapon cycle, but this will also give you like a disadvantage when you start to do a little bit YY or when you try to swap weapons quite fastly. The next setting is really like how you guys like to do it. I personally like to prioritize the finishing move. Maybe you are like more prioritizing the body shield. This is really up to you. More importantly is that you set apply all to your armor plate behavior. When it comes to the C4 detonation, you also would like to detonate all of them at once. For the equipment behavior, make sure that you have it on hold. And when it comes to the manual fire behavior, you would like to have it on press. In the advanced settings of the combat section, the most important part that you need to have is the weapon mount exit, so you would like to have it off. But the most important setting is of course the interact reload behavior. I personally have it to prioritize interact, so every time when I'm somewhere around, I would like to grab all the stuff which is around, and I just want to have like the interact button immediately. In case I want to reload, I can either hold longer my reload button, or I can look the other way around and reload it where no items are. So this is what I recommend. Once again, this is also like a more like preferable settings for you guys, like a very individual settings. But if you're new, this is the one thing that you would like to have if you play mostly Warzone. You don't want that the sprint is cancelling your reload for a simple reason, because sometimes you're reloading and trying to run away, and if you have the correct perk, you can still sprint and reload, so you don't want to cancel your reload. The kimbo behavior you want to have on independent. Sometimes you would like to have the left and right being separated, and the rest leave, as you can see here. Then you still have the overlay settings. If you want to pull up the map, you just go with toggle. This is perfectly fine. And in the advanced, here's exactly how I set it up. So you would like to use your directional buttons for the inventory control. You would like the ping, delay to be moderate. The double tapping delay as well moderate, and the wheel's behavior is on hold. That being said, this is what you need to have for your controller setup if you use only the settings inside the game. Now, let's speak a little bit how you can actually improve your aiming. And the fastest and most effective way, this is at least how it was for me, is to go actually in a game of multiplayer, in case you have multiplayer. If you do not have the multiplayer, you can also play Plunder or any kind of LTM. The main point is what you would like to do is you want to make a private match in case you have multiplayer. And then you would like to set it up the following way. Please bear with me and I explain everything once we are inside the game. First thing that you want to do is you want to change your game mode. So what you would like to play is free for all. And secondly, you want then to select a nice map where you have a lot of close range interactions, but also some mid to long range interactions possibilities. For this case, I think that Vault is a very solid map because it's giving you like these long lanes, clean lanes where you can actually practice your shooting. When it comes to the game rules, you want to set the time limit to somewhere between 10 and 15 minutes. I, in my case, am putting it to 15. Make sure that you set the score limit to 1000 points. Make sure everything is on default. And then you would like to add players. And you would like to add the most possible players. In this case, it's 11. Now, before you go into the game, the thing that you want to do is you want to go to your controller settings, aiming, and you want to turn off your targeted aim assist. Make sure that you have a good weapon for you, which you like to use. You can use like the meta weapon or the current meta weapon and try to practice on it. Because right now what we want to do is we want to improve our aim. We want to train our aim. And the best way how to train your aim is to actually deactivate aim assist in practices rounds. So you are basically playing against 10 to 11 bots, which are super easy on a very small, or better said, nice map with good visual and clear lines. This is exactly what you would like to have. And you use like one of your meta guns. And the next thing that you would like to do is you would like to understand how is the recoil of the gun, and more importantly is how you can stabilize your aim and how you're gonna utilize your aim. And to give you like one tip once you start playing this is the following: use your right stick to lock on an enemy, but use your left stick for the aiming. What do I mean with that? So besides that, you need to improve your centering like so you can see that my centering is not the best, but when I'm starting to shoot, you can see here that I'm basically using my left stick to control where I'm shooting and the right stick control my recoil. So as you can see, this is the way how you can actually improve your aim the most. So the main point is that you practice at least 10 minutes before you start playing, that you practice in a game of bots and you play only like that. As you can see, I have no aim assist and I'm starting to understand, okay, how is the recoil really working, How I start to understand, okay, how do I need to aim? As you can see, I'm aiming with my left stick. I'm not aiming with my right stick. I don't go all the time left, right, left, right, left, right, as you can see here, right? I'm aiming with my left stick. Because most gunfights are happening in like this kind of range. And this is what you would like to train. You would like to train your aim to be as precise as possible. And you would like to train your centering. As you can see, I'm not centering very well, in my opinion. And what you need to do when we speak about centering is you would like to have your dot, what you can see here in the middle, always there where you can expect some enemy to be. And you would always like to go for the head, of course. Headshot multiplier is giving you this additional boost to kill somebody faster than he can kill you. And this is really like the secret sauce when it comes to aiming. You don't need any kind of additional tools or whatsoever. Yes, you can use them to have some additional, let's call it this way, recognition, or that your controller is doing exactly what you would the controller like to do. But in a nutshell, this is the thing that you need. You need to train to use your left stick for proper aiming, but I said for the shooting, And your right stick that you control just the recoil. That's all about it. There's nothing else. And once you understand this and grasp like how to utilize this, you will win more and more gunfights. This is the main thing, or better said, this is the main thing what I learned in the past 2 or 3 years of playing Call of Duty. That my right stick is not doing the aiming for me. My left stick is doing the aiming for me. The right stick is responsible for the recoil control and of course for major adjustments, you know, when you fight with one and then you need to go to left, right, you know, when you have like multiple enemies or whatever. But when it comes to the aiming, it's your left stick. So left stick is for movement and for your aiming. The right stick, control and where you want to initially lock in. And that being said, go make sure that you have all the settings applied, go into a multiplayer game, start up those bots and play against them, because this is the only way how you can better on controller.